Yep, so you got me today, which means everything is slightly a little bit different. I don't use this podium today. Why? Well, because we're going to be talking about tables, chairs, and holidays. Tables, chairs, and holidays. See, if you want to, you can open your Bible up to Luke 2. Luke 2. But I've been just reading and studying the Jewish feasts. And it's not like it's been like my Bible time I've been doing it. It's not like God was like, hey, I want you to read and study this. I just was doing it because I was interested in the Jewish feasts. I didn't know very much about them. I was like, I just want to look into this. And so as I was looking into it, I found something that I don't remember ever reading before. And it was in Luke 2:41. And it says this: every year, Jesus' parents went to Jerusalem for the Passover festival. In my years of being a believer and reading through the Bible, that's the first time I remember reading that. Anybody else ever done that? It's like, it's been there all along. I know I've read it before, but this time going through it, it suddenly jumped out at me. And what jumped out at me from it was we know that Jesus also celebrated Passover in Jerusalem during his 3 years of ministry. See, Jesus' parents celebrated Passover in Jerusalem. They lived in Nazareth. They traveled to Jerusalem for Passover every year. It was on one of those trips that Mary and Joseph accidentally left their kid behind on the path back home. There you go, leaving the Son of God in this big old city all by himself. But that was the last time in the Bible Joseph is mentioned alive. Somewhere between there and somewhere between being left and Jesus starting his ministry, Joseph passed away. Because we see Mary show up multiple places in multiple Gospels. We see Jesus' siblings show up, but there's one person missing: Joseph. Which is why most Bible scholars say, yeah, he passed. He wasn't there. Which leads me to the thing that really stood out to me. What was it like for Jesus to celebrate Passover without his dad? Because you know that first Passover with Jesus, Joseph is taking his family there, and you know he's going to be excited about going, look at the gates. See the gates of the city? One day the Messiah is going to exit out of that gate right there, or he's going to enter into that gate there. That gate right there. One day the Messiah is going to enter there for the last time when he exalts Israel. Do you see that temple there? That is where we interact with God. See, I wonder what Jesus experienced when he was celebrating Passover in Jerusalem. without his dad? Did he read through the verses that are required reading in a Passover with his disciples and still see his dad reading it to him and his siblings? What was it like for him? What was it like for him to experience that empty chair? See, oftentimes I don't think we realize how human Jesus is. The Bible is very clear. We have a high priest that can sympathize with us. Why? Because he's been there. So there's nothing better when it comes to celebrating holidays than having everybody there. Those of us who get to experience that full table will tell you that is an amazing feeling. Having the parents and the grandparents and the children and the great-grandkids all there together. There's nothing better. Except maybe that breath when everybody leaves and it's finally quiet in the house. I don't know, that exhale just always feels good. Peaceful. But there's still nothing better than everybody being together at a full table. See, those of us who get to experience the full table understand how grateful we are to God that we're all here around this table again. God, we thank you for the kindness and the mercy that you've had on us. That once again, we get to celebrate another Thanksgiving or another Christmas or another birthday all together. See, that full table causes gratitude to well up in our hearts. But that full table also invites us into intentionally connecting with those around it. It's a sad thing when you have a table full of people and nobody wants to connect heart to heart, life to life. But yet the full table invites us to connect. And connecting isn't always just talking. Sometimes connecting is interacting with that other person. I still remember when my grandpa Jim, this is when we were really young, the game will date it, Blitz 2000. N64, old school. Yeah, those who remember, like, yep. I remember the one year my grandpa Jim sat down to play NFL Blitz 2000 with my brother and I. My brother's with one controller, my grandpa has the other, and I'm standing behind him going, all right, you got to pick that play. And he's holding on to the thing, and you're supposed to use your thumb, and he's like doing it like this and pressing the buttons like that. We're like, oh, Grandpa. He couldn't even keep his character in the field, much less throw the ball or understand which way he was supposed to go down the field. I'm like, it's football, Grandpa. He's like, I know, I played. But I still remember laughing so hard as every time the ball would be hiked, my grandpa would make his quarterback go back and back and back and back and all the way into the end zone and get a safety. It's like you got to throw it at some point. He goes, I can't go back and throw it at the same time. It's like, Grandpa, you got to hold it that way. See, those are connecting moments. Downloading Minecraft on the phone and hopping onto your grandkid's server. Play with them a little bit. You all laugh to no end. Especially when they bust out the TNT, man. The kids know what I'm talking about. But it's connecting. Full tables. They remind us that we need to be intentional about connecting and making memories. See, the sitting down to play a video game, which my grandpa don't play video games. I think that was the first and only time he ever did. Still made a memory. Sometimes we have to do the out of the normal to make a memory. Sometimes making the memory is just doing that thing that is tradition. Whenever we go up and visit my grandparents, one of the things that everybody does is go to Monocle's. My dad and mom go up there, they go to Monocle's. If I go up there, go to Monocle's. If I go up there with my wife, we go to Monocle's. Caleb goes up there, they go to Monocle's. It's not because Monocle's has the best pizza in the world. It's because it's tradition and it's a memory. See, full tables remind us to make memories. And full tables remind us that we should make the most of the time. Make the most of it. Sometimes that's inviting a little person to help do a 5-minute job that now makes it 15 to 20. The mashed potatoes are a lot quicker to make when I do it myself. But letting the kid press the button to start the mixer, they enjoy it. And we're making the most of it. Because sometimes those are the very memories that stick with people. See, the full table invites us and reminds us of what we have. But one of the things about a full table is it's not always experienced as a full table by everyone who's sitting there. See, the kids, they look at it and they see everybody. But yet, the parents often see people missing. We just this past Sunday after church celebrated the birthdays for October and November as a family. Because there's 2 of them on the end of October, and there's 2 of them in November. And everybody was there. Yet what Azariah and Micaiah probably didn't realize, and what I know Harper and Anya definitely didn't, was that there was chairs that were empty. See, today would have been my grandpa's birthday, my grandpa Herman's birthday. He would have been at that table for that birthday celebration. My brother's birthday, Caleb, is tomorrow. He shares his birthday with Val. Lisa Marie's mother. Lisa Marie is, we call her Auntie Lisa. She's in the family. She's a part of the family. She's adopted in. Not legally, but relationally. And it's her mom's, would have been her mom's birthday tomorrow, as well as Caleb's. But you see what I'm saying? Even around a full table, people can still experience empty chairs. See, the empty chair can be caused by a few things. Death's one of them. You also have choices people make that can create empty chairs. The other thing that can create an empty chair is distance. See, the other people that weren't at the birthday celebration was my dad's parents. His birthday was in October. We were celebrating that. His parents live all the way up in Illinois. See, distance can create an empty chair. This year, when we celebrate Christmas, my wife's brother isn't going to be there. He lives in Germany with his wife. And see, for the last few years, there is an empty chair in the living room with a MacBook sitting on it that is streaming so that we all can be together. And it's nice to have the MacBook, but it's still hard having the empty chair caused by distance. See, no matter what it is that causes that empty chair, it still can be experienced as a loss. Doesn't matter if it's death, doesn't matter if it's choices, doesn't matter if it's distance. I'm going to add a fourth one. Even the what could have been can cause an empty chair. What do I mean by that? Well, every February we celebrate Singles Awareness Month. Valentine's Day. That you get around holidays and you see the people with their spouses, and you see the people with their kids, and if you're on the other side of that without that, that could create an empty chair in the heart too. See, all of those can create a feeling of loss. Choices. Man, sometimes there are empty chairs because of choices that we make. Whether it's a disagreement about some silly political thing. Whether it is an argument that blew up and people said things that now create an empty chair. Whether it's addictions or other really bad choices. Separations in family. It could even be somebody's in prison. All those choices can create empty chairs around the table. And death, man, that one's pretty self-explanatory. That one definitely creates empty chairs. Yet for all those who sit around the table and experience the empty chair, holidays, they can really feel like what Jesus mentioned in Mark 2. He said, don't take an old garment and sew on a new piece of cloth onto it. Don't take a old wineskin and pour new wine in it. Why? Well, because eventually that new patch is going to shrink and tear away from that old garment. And that new wine in the old wineskin is going to cause it to burst. And oftentimes, people that are experiencing empty chairs, that's the same way they experience. That's the same way they're experiencing things. It's the same old holiday. But now, there's a tear in my heart. Or my heart feels like it's bursting because of the loss of the empty chair. See, at some point in life, and we truly live, we're going to experience that empty chair. Right now, it's just a part of life. But when we experience it, we have a responsibility to guide our hearts through that. I'm using the word guide, not guard. Because what happens when you guard is you put up walls, you put up defenses, and you keep things out. Yet we have to guide our hearts. We have to lead our hearts through those times. And there are certain places that we don't want our hearts staying at. We do not want our hearts staying at. These are stops we don't stay at. Because as you're dealing with that empty chair, you may find yourself coming to some of these places, but that's not where you want to stop. And the first place you don't want to stop is letting the past poison the present. Don't let the past poison the present. Don't let the what was, I'm going to say it this way. Grief can cause a poison and poison the what is with the what was. Grief can poison the what is with the what used to be. We cannot let the present be poisoned by the past. And sometimes, as we are moving and dealing with that empty chair, we feel the past start to put its tentacles into the present. The key is that we don't stay there. Don't stay in that place. You may feel it, you may experience it, but you got to guide your heart away from there. The other place that we don't want to stop at is the over-the-shoulder guilt. This is the temptation that sees the empty chair frowning at us, saying, "Why aren't you sadder? Why don't you miss me anymore? Why aren't you hurting as bad as the first?" I know I'm being a little silly there. But sometimes we feel that we should hurt this time as bad as before. And we judge ourselves and we condemn ourselves for not feeling bad anymore. That's not a place to stop and stay. When the chair starts frowning and saying that, you have to guide your heart forward and through. So what are some helpful ways that we can guide our hearts forward? Well, the first one is take one moment, one family get-together, one holiday at a time. Take them one by one. Man, if you're in our family, they come fast starting in October. Well, now September, thanks to Harper. It's like every other week or every 2 weeks, somebody has a birthday, somebody has a holiday, there's just something. And sometimes the way to guide your heart through it is just take them one at a time. Or you may have to do the What About Bob, the baby step. Anybody ever watch What About Bob besides me? I'm going to baby step my way to the door. I'm going to baby step knock on the door. I'm going to baby step enter the door. I'm going to baby step my way to the sofa. I'm going to sit down on the sofa. Sometimes you have to baby step your way through it. Take it one at a time. I don't want to think about the rest of the holidays. I just want to get through this moment right here. And that's an okay place to be. Just keep baby stepping. Just keep taking it one little bit at a time. The second helpful suggestion along the journey: be present with those around you and make the most of the time. Just like the full table invites us to make the most, the empty chair invites us to make the most of the other full chairs around the table. Be present, make the most. It's one of the powerful things about the empty chairs. It reminds us how valuable that time is. Find a way to remember and honor the loved one who is gone. It's another helpful tip in the journey of guiding your heart. Remember, honor, celebrate the memories made. My Grandpa Herman, whenever we'd play dominoes, the goal is, like golf, to get a low score. Whenever he would get lots of points, his statement was, "I'm prospering." And so, as a family, when we play dominoes and somebody gets lots of points, our line is, "You're prospering." And every time we say that, we are remembering and celebrating him. Another one, when he'd be drawing his dominoes to start the game. If he drew a really big one, the double 9 or the double 12, he'd always go, "Ooh." So if you sit around the table and you're playing dominoes with us, you can tell when somebody draws the big one because they go, ooh. We're celebrating and remembering. Even with silly little things like that. Herman had all his crazy songs. I'm already singing them and teaching them to Anya. She can't even talk, but I'm teaching them to her. I'm singing them. Why? Because I'm celebrating and remembering. He used to do that to me. That's how I know him. So it's one of the ways we guide our hearts through is we celebrate and we remember. The other thing that happens is that memories can chase each other around, trying to get our attention. The key is that we don't chase them away. See, sometimes memories, they pop up in front of us, and they show up, and they're like, see me! It's not always good to try to stuff them down and chase them away. Sometimes you have to acknowledge them. Lisa Marie's mom, Val, when everybody else would go out to go swim in the pool, her and I would sit inside and do word searches. There's not a time that I go through a checkout that when I see a word search, don't think about her and doing those together. And what happens? I smile and remember laughing as we're trying to find these things. I'm not a good speller, so we had lots of laughs. See, you don't chase the memory away. Sometimes you have to give life to it. At our birthday get-together, you got all the kids playing on the floor. My dad makes the statement, Val sure loved watching the kids play. She liked getting down there and playing with them. What was going on? A memory was flashing. And instead of chasing it away, he released it. He released it. See, those are ways you guide your heart through the empty chair. I like this quote by Glennon Doyle. It says, grief is love's souvenir. Grief is love's souvenir. Sometimes that very pain, sometimes those very memories are the very souvenir that you get because you loved and had a relationship. It's not something you want to forget. That's not something you want to drive down. But you do want to journey through it well. But in all of it, you must remember there is a chair filler. What do I mean by that? Well, I apologize for getting Christmassy 1 week earlier, but Jesus came. He left his chair to walk our streets, to put an end to empty chairs. He left his chair to walk our streets to put an end to empty chairs. See, this chair, this empty chair might be there because of separation. It might be there because of death. It might be there because of distance. It might be there because something didn't happen that you wished happened. But Jesus came to put an end to that. I love it. It's out of Luke 4, 16 through 21. When he came to the village of Nazareth, his boyhood home, he went as usual to the synagogue on the Sabbath and stood up to read the scriptures. The scroll of Isaiah the prophet was handed to him. He unrolled the scroll and found the place where this was written. Now, I'm going to jump to what the gospel author was talking about, which is Isaiah 61. And this is what it says in Isaiah 61. Jesus read this. The Spirit of the sovereign Lord is on me, because the Lord has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor. He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim freedom for the captives and release from darkness for the prisoners, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor and the day of vengeance of our God, to comfort all who mourn, to provide for those who grieve in Zion, to bestow on them a crown of beauty instead of ashes, the oil of joy instead of mourning, and a garment of praise instead of a spirit of despair. They will be called oaks of righteousness, a planting of the Lord for the display of His splendor. And it goes on, Isaiah goes on, but I just want to stop there. Because what is Jesus saying? The reason I stepped here onto earth was to bring good news to the poor, to bring good news to those who do not have. I am here to bind up the brokenhearted. To those who are experiencing the empty chair, I am here to bind your heart, to heal your heart. To those who are caught in captivity, whether it is addiction, whether it is whatever bad decision, whatever life thing you've got yourself stuck in, I am here to set you free. I am here to bring people back into relationship. It's why He's left. It's why He left His seat. That's why He walked our streets. Was to put an end to the empty chairs. To put an end to the empty seats in our life. Ephesians 2, 14 through 18. Actually, I'm going to back up. I like this. The end of Luke. He rolled up the scroll, handed it back to the attendant, and sat down. All eyes in the synagogue looked at him intently. Then he began to speak to them. The scripture you've just heard has been fulfilled this very day. Isaiah prophesied about me coming. Today I am here doing this. Today I'm doing this. See, we live in a now but not yet kingdom. We live in a now, meaning that this empty chair, God has provided it to be filled now. But sometimes this chair isn't fulfilled until the yet to come kingdom. See, sometimes death separates and makes this chair empty. But that's not the way that it's always going to stay. In Ephesians 2, 14 through 18, it says this, "For Christ Himself has brought peace to us. He united Jew and Gentile into one people when in His own body on the cross, He broke down the wall of hostility that separated us." Now, those of you who are not very familiar with the Bible, God, back in the Old Testament, looked at a group of people and said, "I'm choosing you to be my special people." These were the Jews. He said, "You're going to be my people. I'm going to be your God. We are going to have a special relationship and special covenant." And then there was everybody else on the earth. And what did Jesus do? He ended this separation between the two. He brought peace to us. when he broke down the wall of hostility that separated us. If he can break down that wall of hostility between the Jew and the Gentile, whatever other disagreements going on in life that's causing an empty chair, he can break that one too. He did this by ending the system of the law with its commandments and regulations. He made peace between Jews and Gentiles by creating in himself one new people from two groups. Together as one body, Christ reconciled both groups to God by means of his death on a cross, and our hostility towards each other was put to death. He brought this good news of peace to you Gentiles who were far away from him, and peace to the Jews who were near. Now all of us can come to the Father through the same Holy Spirit because of what Christ has done. Man, it doesn't matter what it is that is separating. Christ made a way for that relationship to be mended. Now, we know in a sense this is talking about us spiritually. And our relationship between us and God. But at the same time, it is talking about us relationally. And in order to end the separation spiritually, Christ died. In order to end the separation relationally, Christ died. And sometimes we have to die to end that separation as well. What do I mean by that? Well, sorry, Christmas movie. 1 week early. I know. It's Home Alone, first one. You have a young kid and an old man. Both of them said and did things that created a separation between them and their family. And they both regretted it. What did the old man have to do? He had to humble himself and call his son, who he and his son haven't been talking. What did Kevin have to do? He had to change his heart towards his family. Both a young kid and an old man had to change their own heart and extend forgiveness first. Kevin's family didn't change. We know that from the end of the movie. And if you watch the second movie, they definitely didn't change. But he changed. Sometimes those disagreements are ended because we go, God, I know you've provided a way to end this empty chair. This is really going to hurt because I still think I'm right. But I'm choosing to forgive and lay down my own feelings and desires that relationship can be once again. And I'm going to do what you did when you made relationship for me with you. Sometimes that's what it takes, is extending that forgiveness, even if you don't get it back. yet Christ provided it for you. He gave you the ability to forgive. He gave you the example through what He did. And if He could do it for me, I can do it for others. Psalm 68:6. God places the lonely in families. He sets the prisoner free and gives them joy. One of my favorite things about celebrating holidays is the adopted family. My family, we've adopted Lisa Marie. My wife's parents adopted a young lady named Yulia into their family, relationally adopted, into their family. See, there's something about believers that we see people that are in empty chairs, and just like Christ adopted us in, so do we adopt them in. I'm not saying that's everybody in every season of life. Because, man, growing up, it was my parents, my brother and I, and my Grandpa Herman, who were at pretty much every holiday. My grandparents, Grandpa Jim, Grandma Weezy, and Grandma Barb, they'd come sometimes. But mainly it was us. But then eventually it started expanding. Why? Because that spirit of adoption that we experience, we can't help but follow suit. Christ adopted us into His family. We can't help but adopt others. Hebrews 2:14-15. Since therefore the children share in flesh and blood, He Himself likewise partook of the same thing, that through death He might destroy the one who has power of death, that is the devil, and deliver all those who through fear of death were subject to lifelong slavery. See, Christ came, He left His chair to walk our streets, to put an end to the empty chairs, and one of the empty chairs is death itself. There is a day coming where death will end. It will end. Christ resurrected people when He walked the earth to show that He had a power to put it to an end. He empowers believers to put it to an end. Now, I'm a pastor here. I've prayed, just like my dad and the other people here in our church. We've prayed for so many people who have still passed away. But that doesn't change the fact that we believe that Christ put an end to this. And while I'd like to see it at this moment, I know death will be ended. And it is not the final separation. Because Jesus said in Matthew 26:29, I tell you, I will not drink again of this fruit of the wine until the day when I drink it anew with you in my Father's kingdom. There is a day coming where we believers will once again be all together around a table celebrating. It ain't going to be Christmas. It ain't going to be Thanksgiving. It's Passover. It is Christ atoning for us. We will celebrate that together. All of us who are believers. Death isn't the end. That chair is not eternally empty to us. See, when we are experiencing the empty chairs, we have to remember the one who fills them. Whatever it is, He fills it. And we still believe for our lost kids, our lost grandkids. God, set them free from what is entangling them. Set them free. God, encounter them. God, set them free from the addiction. Set them free from the walls and the chains that are entrapping them. That they may be at your table. And also at mine. So that's what we believe. He has that power. And He is willing. Why would He step out of eternity into time if He's not willing? If He's not willing. Why would He do that? He wouldn't. He is willing. Man, I don't know why it doesn't happen every time. I don't know why we don't see it exactly when we pray. I don't know. Don't have the answer to that. But it doesn't change His heart. But at the end of the day, that chair does not stay empty. He will fill it. Maybe not in time, but in eternity. For those of us who believe. It's why I think it's so powerful. How did Jesus experience Passover without His dad? Because was He sitting there going, man, I wish he was here. But there's a day where we'll be doing this together. Again. I wish he was here in this moment, but there's a day coming where we will be doing this together again. This is not the last holiday. That didn't happen there. There's one coming. And so, before we end this service, I want to give an opportunity to those who are here that are going, man, I'm not looking forward to my holidays. There are some empty chairs that are really bothering my heart. And I just need some prayer. And so if that's you, I just want you to come up, line up here, and James and I and Luann, if she's around here. You around here, Luann? Nope. Bummer. All right, James, we're going to pray for you because I know that's hard, and we just want to bless you and just give you grace, release God's grace into your life as you experience this holiday season. So with that, the worship team, Jeremy, yeah, you're on the ball.